You know what I've found? Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's not in your DNA. It's not hiding in your family tree. Confidence is something you build, brick by brick, day by day. And here's the good news. Anyone can build it. Anyone. That includes you. I've watched people who couldn't look you in the eye transform into individuals who command a room. What changed? Not their personality, not their background. What changed were their habits. 5 specific habits that I'm going to share with you today. These aren't complicated. They aren't expensive, but they are powerful. Powerful enough to create the kind of confidence that nothing, not criticism, not setbacks, not failures, can shake. Now, why should you listen to me about confidence? Because I've spent decades watching what works. I've seen the patterns. I've studied the commonalities between people who radiate confidence and those who shrink from opportunity. And the difference always comes down to habits. Always. Here's something remarkable. 2 people can face the exact same situation. A job interview, a business opportunity, a social gathering. And one walks in with unshakable confidence while the other is paralyzed with doubt. The difference isn't talent or looks or connections. It's the foundation they've built through daily habits. So let's talk about these 5 habits. Simple practices that, when done consistently, will build a level of confidence in you that will become your unfair advantage in everything you do. I call them unfair because most people won't do them. Most people look for the shortcut, the quick fix, the confidence hack. But real confidence, the kind that sustains you through life's inevitable challenges, comes from these 5 foundational habits. The first habit that creates unstoppable confidence is daily personal development. Now, I don't mean occasional personal development. I don't mean when you feel like it personal development. I mean daily, every single day, rain or shine, busy or not, you invest in yourself. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And who you become is determined by what you put into your mind every day. Every day, you're either feeding your mind with things that build you up or things that tear you down. There is no neutral ground here. I recommend at least 30 minutes of reading good books every day. Not social media, not news. Books. Ideas that have stood the test of time. Wisdom that can change your perspective and expand your thinking. You know, it's interesting. I ask audiences all the time, how many books have you read in the last 90 days? And most people can't name even one. But then they wonder why their confidence is shaky, why they don't have new ideas, well, you can't expect to grow if you're not learning. When you read, you're having a conversation with the author. You're borrowing their experience, their knowledge, their perspective. Think about it. In 1 hour of reading, you can gain insights that might have taken someone 20 years to acquire. That's leverage. That's smart. But here's the key. Don't just read. Apply what you learn. Test it. Try it. See if it works for you. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. And we're not after entertainment here. We're after transformation. I remember talking with a young man who told me he lacked confidence in business settings. I asked him, what books on business have you read in the last year? He couldn't name one. Not one. Yet he expected to feel confident among business professionals. That's like expecting to feel confident speaking French when you've never studied the language. It doesn't work that way. When you develop yourself daily, you build a reservoir of knowledge and ideas that becomes the source of your confidence. You know things, you have perspective, you can contribute to conversations, you can solve problems, you can offer insights. And that knowledge-based confidence is unshakable because it's built on substance, not style. Now, some people say, I don't have time to read. Really? You have time for social media. You have time for television. You have time for all sorts of activities that don't build your future. It's not a matter of having time. It's about priorities. Try this, 10 pages a day. That's all. 10 pages. Most people can read 10 pages in about 15, 20 minutes. Do that every day for a year, and you'll have read about 12, 15 books. Think about how much knowledge, how many ideas, how much wisdom you'll gain from 15 carefully chosen books. And think about what that will do for your confidence. Remember, confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from learning and applying. So make personal development a daily habit, not weekly, not monthly, daily. This one habit alone can transform your life. The second habit that creates unstoppable confidence is keeping promises to yourself. This might be the most important of all 5 habits because it directly affects how you see yourself. And how you see yourself determines how confidently you move through the world. Most people dramatically underestimate the impact of small, consistent actions. They think confidence comes from big achievements. But those big achievements are just the visible results of countless small promises kept over time. I once spoke with a successful entrepreneur who told me something profound. He said, "My confidence doesn't come from my success. My success comes from my confidence. And my confidence comes from knowing I can trust myself to do what needs to be done, even when it's difficult." That's it right there. Can you trust yourself to do what needs to be done, even when it's difficult? If the answer is yes, you'll have confidence. If the answer is no, or maybe, you won't. Now, what happens when you break a promise to yourself? Because you will. We all do. The key is what you do next. Do you make excuses? Do you pretend it didn't happen? Or do you acknowledge it, take responsibility, and make a new, perhaps smaller promise that you can keep? The path to confidence isn't perfect performance. It's honest recovery from imperfect performance. It's getting back up and rebuilding trust with yourself, one kept promise at a time. I suggest creating a simple practice. At the beginning of each day, make 1 or 2 specific promises to yourself. Write them down, then at the end of the day, review whether you kept those promises. Be honest with yourself. If you kept your promises, acknowledge that success. If you didn't, don't beat yourself up. Instead, ask what got in the way and how you can set yourself up for success tomorrow. Over time, this practice of making and keeping promises to yourself will build a solid core of self-trust. And from that self-trust will emerge a quiet, unshakable confidence that no external validation can provide and no external criticism can diminish. Remember, confidence isn't feeling good about yourself because others approve of you. It's feeling good about yourself because you approve of you. And that comes from keeping promises to yourself. The third habit that creates unstoppable confidence is practicing courage in small moments. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. And like any skill, courage grows with practice. Most people wait to feel confident before they act courageously. But that's backward. Confidence doesn't precede courage. It follows it. You act courageously first, even with knots in your stomach, even with your voice shaking. And confidence comes as a result of that action. Now, I'm not talking about reckless behavior. I'm talking about intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone in small, manageable ways. Making that phone call you've been avoiding, speaking up in that meeting, introducing yourself to someone new, requesting that opportunity, trying that new skill. Each time you do something that scares you, even a little, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. You prove that fear isn't fatal. And that proof becomes evidence that builds your confidence. Think about it. Confidence isn't the belief that you'll succeed at everything. It's the knowledge that you can handle whatever happens, including failure. That's true confidence, and you build it by practicing courage in small moments. Remember, the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there, and confidence is built through growth. So practice courage in small moments every day. Your future confident self will thank you. The fourth habit that creates unstoppable confidence is tracking your wins. This might seem simple, but it's profoundly powerful because it counteracts one of the biggest enemies of confidence: forgetting your own progress. Our brains have a negativity bias. We're wired to remember criticism more than praise, to focus on failures more than successes, to worry about what might go wrong rather than appreciate what's gone right. This bias served our ancestors well for survival. It's better to remember the dangerous snake than the beautiful sunset if you want to stay alive. But it doesn't serve us well for confidence. To counter this bias, you need to intentionally track your wins. Every day, write down at least 3 things you did well. They don't have to be spectacular achievements. They can be small victories. A problem solved, a task completed, a kind word spoken, a temptation resisted. The key is to make this a daily practice. Over time, you'll build a record of your own competence, your own progress, your own success, and that record becomes evidence that builds confidence. I call this the achievement journal method. Simple but powerful. Get a notebook. Each evening, write the date at the top of a page. Then list at least 3 things you did well that day. Be specific. Don't write, "I had a good day." Write, "I finished the Johnson proposal ahead of schedule." Or, "I managed a difficult conversation without losing my temper," or, "I kept my commitment to exercise even though I didn't feel like it." Why does this work? Because confidence isn't based on what others think of you. It's based on what you think of yourself. And what you think of yourself is largely determined by what you choose to focus on. Most people focus on their failures, their mistakes, their shortcomings. Then they wonder why they lack confidence. But successful people, confident people, train themselves to focus on their progress, their strengths, their wins. Not in a delusional way that ignores areas for improvement, but in a balanced way that gives appropriate weight to positive evidence. I remember working with a talented professional who struggled with imposter syndrome. Despite significant accomplishments, she constantly felt she wasn't good enough. I suggested the achievement journal practice. At first, she found it difficult to identify even 3 small wins each day. But after a few weeks of this practice, something shifted. She began to see patterns of competence in her life. She began to recognize her own strengths and capabilities. And gradually, her confidence grew. Not because her abilities had suddenly improved, but because she was finally acknowledging the abilities she already had. This habit is especially powerful during challenging times when your confidence is under attack, when you face criticism or setbacks or failures. And you will. Your achievement journal becomes a source of perspective. It reminds you that one setback doesn't define you. It provides evidence of your capability that counters the voice of doubt. Remember, focus determines your reality. If you focus on your failures, you'll feel like a failure. If you focus on your progress, you'll feel your potential. So track your wins every day. Your confidence depends on it. The 5th habit that creates unstoppable confidence is serving others. This might seem counterintuitive. How does focusing on others build your confidence? But it's actually one of the most powerful confidence-building practices available to you. When you focus exclusively on yourself, your performance, your appearance, your status, your problems, you create fertile ground for insecurity. Self-focus tends to amplify doubts and magnify flaws. But when you shift your focus to serving others, adding value, solving problems, making a contribution, something remarkable happens. You get outside yourself. You access your strengths. You connect with a purpose larger than your own comfort or success. And paradoxically, this service-oriented focus builds a genuine confidence that self-focus never can. Think about times when you've been most confident. Chances are they were moments when you were fully engaged in adding value, teaching someone a skill, solving a problem, creating something useful, helping someone in need. In those moments, you weren't thinking about how you appeared or whether you were good enough. You were focused on the contribution you were making, and in that focus, you found confidence. This works because confidence isn't manufactured by positive thinking. It emerges naturally when you're engaged in meaningful action. And what's more meaningful than making a difference in someone else's life? I've seen this principle transform people's lives. I remember a young professional who was painfully shy and insecure in most social situations. But this same person volunteered teaching computer skills to senior citizens on weekends. And in that context, focused on helping others learn, solving their problems, answering their questions. His natural confidence emerged. He wasn't a different person. He was just differently focused. Instead of worrying about his own performance, he was concerned with their progress. Eventually, he learned to bring that same service-oriented Focus to his professional life. In meetings, instead of worrying about how he was coming across, he focused on how he could add value to the discussion. When giving presentations, instead of obsessing about his delivery, he concentrated on making the content useful for his audience. This shift in focus from self to service transformed his confidence level in all areas of his life. Here's how you can apply this habit. Each day, ask yourself, how can I add value today? How can I serve? How can I make someone else's life better? Then act on your answers. It might be through your work. It might be through volunteer activities. It might be through simple acts of kindness or thoughtfulness. The specifics matter less than the orientation towards service. Over time, this habit will build a confidence that's both genuine and unshakable because it's not based on you being perfect or even exceptional. It's based on you being useful. And the wonderful thing about usefulness is that it's always available to you, regardless of your mood, your circumstances, or your past performance. Remember, self-absorption is the enemy of confidence. Service is its friend. So make serving others a daily habit and watch your confidence grow. Now, these 5 habits, daily personal development, keeping promises to yourself, practicing courage in small moments, tracking your wins, and serving others, are powerful individually, but they're transformative when practiced. They work synergistically, each one reinforcing and amplifying the others. When you develop yourself daily, you gain knowledge and skills that make it easier to keep promises to yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, you build the self-trust that makes it easier to practice courage in small moments. When you practice courage, you create wins worth tracking. When you track your wins, you recognize strengths that can be used in serving others. And when you serve others, you discover needs that motivate further personal development. It's a virtuous cycle, with each habit feeding into the next, building an ever stronger foundation of genuine confidence. But here's what you need to understand. These habits aren't events. They're practices. You don't do them once and check them off. You incorporate them into your daily life. You make them as automatic as brushing your teeth or checking your phone. And like any practice, the key is consistency, not perfection. You won't do all 5 habits perfectly every day. That's not the goal. The goal is to do them consistently over time, allowing their cumulative effect to transform your confidence from the inside out. I often tell people, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. These 5 habits are seeds. Plant them daily, and in time, they will yield a harvest of confidence beyond what you can currently imagine. So here's my challenge to you. Commit to these 5 habits for the next 90 days. Just 90 days. Daily personal development, keeping promises to yourself, practicing courage in small moments, tracking your wins, serving others. Do them consistently, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. At the end of those 90 days, notice the difference, not just in how you feel, but in how you act. Notice how differently you approach challenges. Notice how differently you respond to criticism. Notice how differently you seize opportunities. Because that's what confidence does. It changes behavior, and changed behavior changes results, and changed results change lives. You see, confidence isn't just a nice feeling, it's a force multiplier. It takes whatever talent, whatever skill, whatever opportunity you have and magnifies its impact. With confidence, you'll take more action. You'll persist longer. You'll recover faster from setbacks. You'll attract more opportunities. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. And that strength, that confidence is available to you, not through wishing or hoping or affirmations, but through habits. 5 specific habits that, practiced daily, will build a foundation of confidence that nothing and no one can shake. The question isn't whether these habits work. They do. The question is, will you work them? Will you commit to them? Will you practice them daily? Even when progress seems slow, even when doubts creep in, even when old patterns of insecurity try to reassert themselves. Because if you'll commit to these 5 habits with consistency and patience, you'll develop a confidence that's not dependent on conditions or comparisons or compliments. You'll develop a confidence that comes from who you are and what you do, not from what others think or what circumstances permit. That's unstoppable confidence, and it begins today with your next choice. Will it be a choice that feeds your doubts, or will it be a choice that builds your confidence? The 5 habits are waiting for you. Daily personal development, keeping promises to yourself, practicing courage in small moments, tracking your wins, serving others, simple practices with profound power. The choice, as always, is yours. Choose well, my friend. Your future self is what? Now, let me share something important about these 5 habits. They work regardless of your starting point. I've seen people begin with tremendous disadvantages, limited education, difficult backgrounds, past failures, and build remarkable confidence through these habits. Why? Because these habits aren't about your past. They're about your present actions and your future potential. Let's take a moment to go deeper on each habit and address the obstacles you might face. With daily personal development, the biggest obstacle is consistency. It's easy to read a book when you feel motivated. It's easy to listen to educational content when it's convenient. But what about when you're tired? What about when you're busy? What about when you don't feel like it? That's where discipline comes in. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. The slight discomfort of disciplining yourself to study daily is nothing compared to the heavy regret of remaining stagnant, of watching opportunities pass you by because you lack the knowledge or skills to seize them. Try this. Connect your personal development to your existing routines. Read during breakfast. Listen to educational content during your commute. Watch instructional videos while exercising. By linking new habits to established routines, remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Some days you might only read 5 pages instead of 10. That's fine. Some days you might only listen to 15 minutes of content instead of 30. That's fine too. What matters is maintaining the habit, even in a reduced form, rather than breaking the chain of consistency. But here's the truth. There's never a perfect time for courage. By definition, courage involves discomfort. If you wait until you feel completely comfortable, you'll wait forever. So how do you overcome this obstacle? By creating a courage habit trigger, identify a specific cue that, whenever you notice it, prompts you to take a courageous action. It might be feeling that flutter of nervousness in your stomach. It might be catching yourself making an excuse. It might be hearing that small voice that says, maybe I should. When you notice your trigger, commit to taking one small courageous action within the next 5 minutes. Don't deliberate. Don't weigh pros and cons. Just act. This practice bypasses your rationalization mechanism and builds your courage muscle. With tracking your wins, the biggest obstacle is often our tendency to discount our own achievements. That doesn't really count, we tell ourselves. Anyone could have done that? I just got lucky. It wasn't that big a deal. This discounting robs us of the confidence-building evidence we need. It's like tearing up winning lottery tickets because they're only worth $5 each, not realizing that those small wins add up to significant value over time. To overcome this obstacle, establish clear criteria for what counts as a win, and then stick to those criteria. A win might be any task completed, any challenge faced, any progress made, any discipline maintained, any fear confronted, any help provided, any problem solved. By defining wins clearly and objectively, you remove your subjective judgment from the equation. You don't get to discount an achievement just because it feels small to you. If it meets your criteria, it counts, period. With serving others, the biggest obstacle is often feeling like you don't have enough. Enough knowledge, enough resources, enough time, enough energy to make a meaningful contribution. I'll serve when I have more to give, people tell themselves. But that thinking gets it backward. You don't serve because you have an abundance. You develop abundance through service. by focusing on how you can use whatever you currently have. However limited it might seem, to help someone else, you discover resources within yourself you didn't know existed. Try this day by asking, who can I help today, given what I currently have? Not what you wish you had, not what you're going to have someday, what you have right now. Then find one person to help, one problem to solve, one value to add with your current resources. This practice builds a service habit while eliminating the not enough obstacle that prevents so many people from experiencing the confidence that comes through contribution. Let me address another critical aspect of these 5 habits. They must be personalized to be effective. What does that mean? It means adapting the general principles to your specific circumstances, strengths, and challenges. For daily personal development, it means selecting material that addresses your particular growth needs. If communication is your weakness, focus there. If technical knowledge is what you lack, prioritize that. Be strategic about what you study. Don't just consume any information. Consume information that strengthens your areas of opportunity. For keeping promises to yourself, it means identifying which promises will have the greatest impact on your confidence. For some, it's promises about health habits. For others, it's promises about work productivity. For still others, it's promises about financial discipline. Know yourself well enough to know which kept promises will build your confidence most effectively. For practicing courage in small moments, it means recognizing your specific fears and addressing them directly. Social fears, practice speaking up in groups. Professional fears, practice requesting opportunities. Creative fears, practice sharing your work. Target your courage practice to your specific areas of insecurity. For tracking your wins, it means defining wins in a way that's meaningful to you. What counts as progress in your life? What counts as success on your journey? Create your own scoreboard, one that measures what truly matters to you, not what others think should matter. For serving others, it means finding ways to contribute that align with your natural strengths and interests. Don't try to serve in ways that drain you unnecessarily. Find the intersection between what others need and what you do well. That's where your greatest contribution and your greatest confidence will be found. By personalizing these habits, you make them not just effective, but sustainable. And sustainability is crucial because confidence isn't built in a day or a week or a month. It's built over time through consistent practice of the right habits. Let me share one more vital truth about confidence. It grows through challenges, not despite them. Many people think confidence comes from avoiding difficult situations, from staying within the safety of what they know they can handle. But that's not how confidence works. True confidence comes from facing challenges, sometimes failing, learning from those failures and trying again. It comes from proving to yourself that you can fall and get back up, that you can make mistakes and recover, that you can face uncertainty and survive. That's why these 5 habits are so powerful. They don't shield you from challenges. They prepare you for them. They don't eliminate the possibility of failure. They give you the resilience to bounce back from failure. They don't remove obstacles from your path. They equip you to overcome those obstacles. So as you practice these habits, don't be discouraged when challenges arise. Don't be surprised when you experience setbacks, and don't conclude that the habits aren't working just because the path isn't smooth. Instead, recognize that those challenges and setbacks are part of the confidence-building process. They're not signs of failure. They're opportunities for growth. They're not evidence that you should quit. They're invitations to persist. And that persistence, that willingness to practice these habits through difficulty, through doubt, through occasional failure, is itself an expression of the confidence you're building. It's both the means and the end, the path and the destination. So commit to these 5 habits. Practice them daily. Personalize them thoughtfully. Persist through challenges. And watch as, day by day, your confidence grows. Not the shallow confidence that comes from external validation, but the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are, what you can do, and how you can contribute. The world needs what you have to offer. It needs your talent, your creativity, your perspective, your solutions. But to offer those gifts fully, you need confidence. Not arrogance, not bravado, but genuine confidence. The kind that propels you forward while keeping you grounded, the kind that empowers you while connecting you to others. That confidence is available to you through these 5 habits. It won't come overnight. It won't come without effort, but it will come as surely as spring follows winter, as surely as harvest follows planting. So plant these habits today, nurture them daily, and prepare for a harvest of confidence that will transform not just how you feel about yourself, but what you're able to accomplish in every area of your life. The choice, as always, is yours. Choose well, my friend. Your future self is watching, and so is a world waiting for the unique contribution that only a confident you can make.